And welcome back to the Wicked Wild Podcast, a feral podcast for the uncivilized horror fans. And welcome to the Jaime Jams Anthology of Horror. We are going to be spending, we talked about this last episode, or our last movie review, that for the next 4 movie reviews, we're going to get a curated tour of Jamie's faves within the genres that we love oh so much. So you're going to spend March and April with our buddy Jaime as she shares some of her favorites with us. And
some might not be faves. They're just, I just want to put that out there.
Well, we know today is.
Oh, today is absolutely. Just one of the 4 is not a fave. I'm prefacing that now before people could yell at me. It's not a fave. It's a Jaime wanted to see it again for a long time and it hasn't seen it. And I think Eli also. So Jaime threw it on the list. She kicked off a fave to watch this movie.
Wow.
So not tonight. Just
I was going to
coming out down the line. Tonight's a fave.
And on that point, obviously, let me introduce you to our host for this evening. We'll start with Jaime, the host of this block of movies. And my question for you, Jaime, is this is your party, obviously. You know, we're going to be spending the next couple of months.
I apologize in advance.
The springtime with our Jaime and her movies. So give me a recommendation of a drink and snack pairing with tonight's movie, Evil Dead 2. I'll be asking
God, I wasn't prepared for this. A drink and snack. Okay. Just a favorite snack in general. So I think it goes, because it's also a fun snack, is nachos. Now I'm vegetarian, so you're going to leave off some of the meat, but we're going to put everything else on there and extra cheese.
Perfect.
And jalapenos. We have to leave. I can't do spicy. Yeah, exactly. So I think it fits. Drink. I'm not a big drinker, so I can't tell you like mixed drinks or anything because I don't really know them. But I think for me, I'm going to do like a nice, really saturated Shirley Temple. And I'll tell you, because it's so red, if you can make it like that blood red of like, you know, Technicolor. And throw some vodka in if you want. And there we go. Like, you know, that's my very quick pairing for this
just
movie.
The bloodiest blood you could get.
Yeah.
Maybe you could do some food color in your cheese too. Have blood covered
and make everything red.
Fantastic.
Stain your mouth for the rest of the night.
Everybody's pooping weird tomorrow.
Yeah.
Remind me not to have you make any of my food.
Me or Dave? I'm not sure.
Whoever's idea is put red food color in nacho cheese. So it looks like someone had the bloody shits on my chips.
Doesn't matter. It'll still taste the same.
Exactly. For the guy who defends Golden Corral, I think I might just sort it out a little bit.
You know what? Okay. I know what I'm about. Okay.
And then we've got John up in Michigan. How's it going, John?
It's going.
So everybody knows this. It's not even trivia anymore. It's just part of the core memory of the Raimi verse. But everybody knows about Raimi's Delta 88 that he loves so much that he put in all those movies. So if you, John, become a filmmaker someday, what is the item that's incredibly sentimental to you that you're going to place in every one of your movies?
Wow. That again, not like Jaime, not prepared for this. Not prepared at all.
With some good questions.
You did. Sentimental to me, I guess. Gosh, that's like super, super hard. I mean, if anybody's watching, I guess probably I would have some sort of Legend of Zelda video game probably on the shelf somewhere. That would probably say
you've got quite the collection of. Do you have every single iteration?
No, I don't. I have like probably the key ones that you'd want.
Gotcha.
But definitely not all. Exactly.
I like that. Like having a Zelda cassette just randomly placed in the background. I'm for that. Very cool. And then we've got Eli up in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. How's it going, Eli?
Hey, you know me, living the dream, one day at a time.
So I do have a question for you, Eli. You know, as our resident Mole King, would you be fine being trapped in the root cellar if your friends thought you'd become a danger to yourself and others, just asking for a friend? Would you be okay with that?
I don't even know if it'd be a trap, because more than likely at some point I'd be like, you know what? I think I'd rather be in the root cellar. Like, especially volunteer. Like if for sure, especially if like one of you assholes are like, hey, we found this book, I'm just gonna start reading out of them. I'm like, you know what, I'll be in the root cellar. Good luck. And then I'm just gonna chain it. I'm just gonna chain myself down there. All I need is a good book and a bag of popcorn.
Why are we assholes in this?
Because I'll tell you why, right? because we would get there.
Yeah,
well, one,
red food coloring.
We put red food coloring in my nachos. Two, I would be like, listen, there's all these evil signs. Trust me, I know what I'm talking about. And you guys wouldn't believe me, just like you didn't believe about cults and aliens and all these things. And then you're going to find this book, and it's probably going to be John. He's going to start reading out of it. I was about
to say, I think it was John who said it last time.
Yep. It's probably going to be him.
I'd read it for sure.
And I'm going to say, don't read it. You're like, what's the worst going to happen? I'm like,
exactly.
The worst going to happen is I'm going to go chain myself in the basement.
Well,
good luck cutting your hands off.
Well, we just established in the demon campfire tales that you're the guy who we want to read from the book. Because you're going to mispronounce half of it.
Yeah, but I would. Yeah, but I wouldn't get the chance to because John would read out first.
Sure.
So he would already mess up.
Yeah. With perfect articulation too.
Yeah, you know me and my Sanskrit demon language skills.
Yeah, probably.
And then, of course, we have our buddy Jeff, also in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. How's it going, Jeff?
Fantastic.
So, just a quick question for you too, Jeff. If your date ever asked you if you had a say bottle handy they could use for a spitter, are you becoming more attracted or less attracted to that person?
Well,
be honest now.
If I go about 45 minutes south of where I live, it'd be more attractive, but I think it's definitely less attractive. So I'm not sure why that was even included in this movie, but
I thought it was hilarious because I've literally had watching this movie with other people. I've had
flashbacks.
That is so unrealistic. A girl would never chew tobacco. I'm like,
it's not that unrealistic.
I've seen that.
I've been in high school, and like every once in a while you see a girl with like throat chewing, and you would watch. There'd be like half the guys would look weird, and the other half guys you just see a light go up in their eyes, like they just saw a unicorn.
Because in both cases, those guys know that girl would whip their ass.
Oh, for sure, for sure.
Some of them are for that. Some of them are against.
Because the other thing too, I don't know about like, but where I grew up, like the girls always chewed the grossest snuff. Like it was always
still out of their dad's dresser.
Yeah, like they're like, oh, this is like grizzly grape. And you'd be like, oh my god, oh my god,
grizzly grape.
Why don't you just fill your lip with gasoline? Like, what are you doing?
I was more of a red man guy, longleaf. I never did the snuff stuff.
So.
And on that point, we are going to take a quick diversion from Evil Dead to give our buddy Eli the opportunity to give us the paranormal news you need to know this week in a little section we call The Wicked Whispers.
I thought since this was Jamie's lead off, every week it tends to be death and destruction. But this week I went out and I searched for just some fun good time news that Jamie might enjoy. Now, I'm not going to do this for every one of Jamie's movies. We'll be back to death, destruction, despair next week. But I thought for this first one, I would find some fun articles for Jamie. Okay.
I feel like this might be sarcastic, though. I'm afraid.
No, not at all. This week, El Chapo's granddaughter announced that she was going to go to Scotland and she is going to hunt for Loch Ness Monster. Yeah. No one knows why, but like she made the official announcement. Like she's like setting up, like using funds to set up an expedition, go search for Loch Ness Monster. People don't understand why. They're a little confused, but
you don't tell El Chapo's granddaughter
that she's not going to do it. But what the hell kind of world would it be if like the person who finally discovers Loch Ness, El Chapo's granddaughter? That's all I'm saying. But the timeline we currently are on, if anything seems likely, that seems like it's going to be it, right? The other little fun story we got here, for some reason, a company asked for all the evidence from the DB Cooper case. They wanted to see if they could find any evidence, and apparently they found some DNA evidence on his some of the clothing left behind. So they say potentially within the next couple of months we could actually have the identity of DB Cooper.
What kind of DNA evidence?
They did not say what type.
Did it glow
they just said DNA evidence, which I thought was one, that's weird. Two, they said it was clothing he left behind. I'm like, what clothing? Let's see here. What else there? In South America, in the Amazon here, the largest anaconda was discovered. They're calling it the green anaconda. The biggest one they found so far, which they think there is more that are bigger, but the largest one they found was 26 feet long and 300 pounds. So if you need another reason to be afraid to go in the Amazon, a 26-foot long, 300-pound snake might do it. They also noted in the article I was reading about this that scientists are noticing a trend that some already large animals seem to be becoming increasingly larger. And they don't know if that's a effect of climate change or something else. So that seems like it's not worrisome at all.
You guys think that's Alejandro de Diablo, or is that the dragon worm?
Oh, I forgot about it.
It's got to be Alejandro.
You know what I'm going with? Big fucking snake. That's what I'm going with.
I don't know.
I know what I went with when we had to pick names.
How could he not salsa dance at this point?
And then the final one I got for Jamie. Hold on, I can't read my writing here. Yeah. My final one here is, and I actually caught wind of this. I didn't think it was real at first. I caught wind of this on TikTok and I was like, seems kind of fake. But there's been multiple sightings, so much so that it's actually caught the presence of some cryptid researchers. We may have a new cryptid people in Georgia. Some folks in the rural areas outside of Atlanta, about an hour outside of Atlanta, are reporting to be plagued by what they've been calling the cat man.
Oh boy.
Apparently, this is a over 6 feet tall, half man, half cat that lurks in the woods and stalks people and likes to play tricks on them and run all around them. You know you're dealing with it because before you see Catman, apparently
what a unique name.
He does meow, but apparently like his voice part is not cat, so they're claiming it sounds like a weird man just meowing, like a fake meow. Like they're like the one video was like it's like meow meow, like weird, and like a lot of these people are saying like it's scarier, and then when they're like going back to their house, like they see this weird half man half cat coming towards them. Now I will just like to point out, none of them have said why they're calling it cat man, but I'm assuming they're not wearing pants, which makes this story even creepier. So yeah, we got a new cryptid in Georgia here.
Doesn't depend on which half's cat.
Well, I'm assuming bottom half's cat. Oh, you're right.
Exactly. Is it a cat
You're
man
right.
or a man cat?
You're right. Well, they're calling it cat man, and they say it makes.
Well, you have to assume the bottom's cat.
That's what I'm thinking.
If he's not making cat noises out of his mouth, then the bottom has to be cat.
Good point.
And cats don't wear pants, so I mean,
Good point. Well, not all cats.
Or it's not.
No cats wear pants.
Or it's
what do you mean not all cats?
I mean, I've seen some cartoons where some cats have been wearing pants.
It could be that like he has a tail, but then he has legs. Like he could be like a weird. You're actually all acting like he's just perfectly half and half.
It is. Oh. He has a line.
But you're saying it could just be.
He could just be fucking
like
weird. Like he
weird,
could have
like a naked
nose,
cat,
but like a person.
Naked body. Okay, I like the way you're thinking, Jimmy.
You know,
I like my half and half better. It's like chocolate and vanilla ice cream. It's right down the middle, you know what I mean?
But yeah, people are at first people thought this was just like a hoax, but now like there have been many people coming forward talking about the Catman that now people are kind of wanting to look into it because like all of their stories are the same. So so if you're in Georgia, watch out for Catman. He might try to sneak up on you near the wood lines and fake meow at you.
You know, it would be awesome if this is just a mountain lion who has decided to try and fit in.
Who's to say it's a cat man making cat noises? Maybe it's a man cat making making man noises. You know what I mean?
So then it's cat from the waist up and man from the waist down.
And its meow sounds effed up because it's trying to emulate a man making a cat noise.
But the only word it knows is meow.
Yeah.
All right. Wow. Okay. Wow. So I picked some fun ones for Jamie here tonight because I figured now next week Jamie, I tell you we're going back to death, destruction, despair.
Yeah, fine. It's a nice break though.
This like there's so much stuff happening in the news that I figured this might be good because like at some point I was like, what's the point of even living? when it's all failing. So I thought maybe tonight we'd do a little palate cleanser because there's a bunch of these little fun ones. Also, a couple little someone's that are in the development. Someone may have actually caught camera of Bigfoot. Another video of Bigfoot. They're looking at that, trying to validate that.
Is he 80 feet tall?
They haven't said yet. They haven't showed the video.
Well, I mean, I won't believe it until I see how tall.
Until it's 80 feet. So, like, what are you like saying? Like, Bigfoot's a kaiju?
No,
kaiju's
are very big. What are you talking about? Like, what do you mean a kaiju?
What do you mean Godzilla is like taller than all of Tokyo?
No, he's not.
Yes, he is.
What are you talking about? Godzilla is a guy in a suit. Okay, well, Godzilla is six some feet tall, and he runs over a small model buildings. I'm not sure what you're talking about.
So you're not real 86 foot tall Bigfoot.
Yeah,
super real. Mm-hmm. All right, fair enough. Fair enough. And then also the other thing,
a gleaming star
in development is there's also some rumors of them finding some weirdly large and aggressive sharks that they're trying to figure that out. So if anybody thought had the world ends like the video game and movie Rampage, if you didn't have that on your bingo card, now's the time to add it because we got catmen and giant sharks. It's great. Hey, you know what? I'm doing good. It's all good.
I was going to say, how do you stay motivated, Eli, in a world where at this point, from what you're saying, you are fully convinced it's not that the world is going to end, it's what's going to end the world first.
It's done. We're already a game over, right? We got like AI out of control. And then like what's weird is that
we get up in the morning. I mean,
listen, there was a guy came forward and said like AI's Pandora's box, or like we already opened it months ago. And they're like, and the problem is
it wasn't just some guy. It was what's his name? Galmod,
like the head, like the father of AI. Yeah.
He was like the head of Google research.
And he said, but instead of us trying to slow anything down, he goes, they're just actively giving it shit to do stuff. So like AI's taking over.
Going.
That's done. Elon Musk came out today actually and was like that Neuralink, which the first edition was only supposed to help people with like seizures and stutters and stuff. He's like, well, we went ahead and put in this integrating chip so it can connect to the computers, and they're running their computers with their brain.
He can move the mouse with his mind.
Great. That seems like a great start. They're talking about for the second testing, putting AI directly in the chip, which just also seems
Speaking of AI, did you see those hackers use deep fakes to steal $25 million from a Chinese company?
Yeah. Yeah. So like Skynet's happening. It's already gone. Oceans are being weird. They keep finding these like holes showing up in the Arctic.
Oceans are being weird.
Like it's just aliens are doing stuff, and a bit like there's some releases we'll talk about next week once stuff kind of settles. Of like alien disclosures happening soon. Like it's all happening in one fucking year. 1 year, everything, all this is happening. We got a cat man. Like
I just love the look on Jamie's face right now. Like she's waiting patiently for us to get back to talking.
I was like, are we going to discuss a movie tonight, or are we discussing AI and Catman?
Listen, you're watching my descent into madness.
I watch it every week.
Yeah. So like that way, like one day you can tell like your future grandchildren.
We have it all.
Hey, I was there as I slowly watched reality fracture in Eli's mind as he actually started talking about finding escape lands in the woods to go hide out.
No, that conversation actually starts with you see that guy on the news that they're talking about who's been up in the woods, and I know how that started. I know how that happened.
I was there.
So back on our entertainment review episode here to talk about a movie that is cherished by many on the episode. But before we get into that, we're going to do our on the fly synopsis, just as we do with every movie review. And if you remember in our last movie review of American Werewolf in London, John gave us a quick synop. So he's going to be my partner in crime this evening. So question for you, John, today, in your opinion, because obviously a lot of this is qualitative, not quantitative.
Perfect.
In your opinion, what is the most important ingredient to a Raimi Evil Dead movie?
Ooh, okay.
Here's your 4 options: chainsaw fight, evil hand attack, Necronomicon, or the dead-eyed girlfriend reveal.
I'm fine with any of these.
I was going to say they're all any of them. Yeah, because we all care what you think.
They're all in the gumbo pot, but what's the most important one?
I mean, hard.
Yeah, I mean, me personally, or me, not or anybody else, Necronomicon.
The Necronomicon has to be part of it. Yeah, well, that's part of the world that he's created, and I think he will be pleased to know that Eli is our representative of the Neck book itself.
So. You know what? Thank you. Thank you for once being accurate. I appreciate that. Is it because
I'm waiting for Dave to pull the carpet out from underneath Eli right now? I'm just waiting.
It will happen. Evil Dead 2, which was I like to refer to as the spiritual remake sequel to Evil Dead 1. The Sam Raimi's Got Money edition, where he was given more money to basically kind of remake and revise his first film and do it with some real gusto. You have a group of friends who go camping in a cabin in the woods, where they stumble across a little book and some tapes by an archaeologist who stumbled across a demonic discovery, we'll say.
That's the first movie.
You watched the wrong one?
I watched the wrong movie again.
Are you kidding me?
No, I don't
What's
think
wrong
so.
with you? You said group of friends? It wasn't a group of friends.
It was his girlfriend.
It was him and his girlfriend. That's all that were in this movie. And then the other people come later.
No, yep, you're right. Well, they're still his friends.
It's still a group.
They're not his friends.
They're not his friends, though.
Like,
he doesn't know them. He doesn't know them. He doesn't know them.
I may have watched the wrong movie again. This may happen. Hold on. Let me go here.
How did you watch the wrong one this time?
Listen, I have a lot going on right now, okay? I have a lot going on right now.
Was it in 1981 or 1987?
You know what? That's irrelevant. It's there's a group of people who are in a cabin, and some evil is read from a book, and shit goes sideways.
Yeah, I mean, you could still describe it the same way. You saved yourself. It's fine.
I have seen the second one. I did watch the first movie though. I did do that, but I've seen the second one a lot, so we're good. I've done this twice, and you know what?
Yes,
I am thoroughly concerned.
You're the only one on the episode.
I know. I am thoroughly concerned now at this point. And have you noticed that both times this happened, I've chosen to do the synopsis as well?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm a little confused. We'll get to. I'm a little confused how you did it this time, though.
John did it in Piranha, and you corrected him, and that's how we found out.
Whatever. Either way. You know what? Either way, don't matter. Hey, I see this movie. We're good now.
All right.
I would have to say, and we'll get into it, what everybody's favorite is. But if I had the opportunity to watch Evil Dead 2 this week and watch the original, I think I'd be kind of bummed. I mean, not that Evil Dead 1 is bad.
In all fairness, when Evil Dead Rise or whatever that new horse turd came out,
yeah,
I went through and watched all of them because they were like, hey, there's gonna be a connection, and that connection was poop. So we're good now. I just got a little confused for a minute.
Okay, fair.
Take a deep breath. It'll be fine.
Listen, I have a lot going on, and the world's ending. Okay.
Hey, I get it. It takes a lot to stand up an underground cabal.
I'm concerned that Cat Man is going to come with his cat wiener out meowing at me.
That's true. Cats and moles are not friends.
No,
I have to imagine.
No,
that's not going to end well. So as we get started on getting everybody's kind of feedback or their opinion of the movie, obviously we're going to start with the person who selected this for our block. Jaime, obviously not your first watch. So tell me why this is your movie, why it had to be the opener. Because obviously when you're putting a mixtape together for your friends, you open with a banger. So this is your banger.
I opened with a banger, and I opened with a banger also because I'm the first one to go. So I think this is quite possibly, I'll toot my own horn, the perfect movie for us to start this whole thing off with.
Here.
I'm a little bit surprised we hadn't gotten to it yet, but not fully because we did 2013. And like, we all know that's like one of my favorite movies of all fucking time. Mm-hmm. So I picked this to start because it has been on our list. It is one of my favorite movies. It It is one of my favorite horror series. I think that's like a lot of people in the horror community. I'm not speaking for everybody, but I think Evil Dead in general, taking out Rise, like Eli said, because I fucking loathe Rise. But everything else, I don't even think I just like, I love. 2013, one of my favorite movies of all time. Obviously the original 3, and Ash versus Evil Dead, as I hold Ashy Slashy in my hand, is quite, this is blasphemy, quite possibly like my favorite.
Is that Ash? I thought that was John.
It's Ash versus Evil Dead. I think we talked about, like, touched on this once before, whether it was on recording or off recording and just chatting, but like Ash versus Evil Dead might be my favorite Bruce Campbell Evil Dead thing. Now, before that, it was always Evil Dead 2. Now, Ash versus Evil Dead didn't come out till the 2000 aughts. I mean, whatever. No, the 15s, whatever. I don't know when it actually came out, but in the past 10 years or whatever. So before that, as far as Bruce Campbell stuff, it was this movie. So there's like not even a lot to say about this movie. It's beloved for many reasons, as we'll all get into. It's funny, it's fun, it's gory when it wants to be. And Ash Williams might be like the epitome of horror character, like, or hero, if you want to throw him that way, because he's the weirdest hero you'll ever get, but he's our greatest hero we'll ever get. So, seeing him so young is hilarious. I actually haven't, as much as I love this whole series, like I said, I just came off, like in the past month or whatever, rewatching Ash versus Evil Dead. So watching old and seeing him so goddamn young again, and like acting the exact same, but so fucking young, it's kind of adorable. But we'll talk about details and everything that this movie has done for the horror genre, and everything else. But I mean, this movie is like, it's like perfection for like what it is. So there's not even a lot I'm going to say. I thought it'd be a great kickoff. It's fun. It's a great way to get this whole thing going. And one of you will tell me otherwise if you think. I have this puppet talking into the microphone for me.
Well, I can see your lips moving.
This thing is the fucking cutest thing you've ever seen. And if you've seen the show, it's like, oh my God.
Well, and to the point you just made, I don't think, and we can talk about it after everybody's given their initial thoughts, of all of the movies, and there's always somebody that you reference a movie you like that will poo-poo it. I don't think in all of the conversations I've had within horror that I've ever referenced Evil Dead 2 and somebody said, I don't like that one.
Yeah, in the horror community, I don't think I've ever heard that really. Like, you know, but maybe
it may not be your favorite, but everybody gets it.
And I think, and I might be speaking out of turn, people could yell at me, but like, I'm pretty sure 2 is beloved as like the favorite, right? Yeah. Like 2 is like
generally it is number 1.
Generally, yeah. And everybody has their own preference. Like some people just love Army of Darkness because it's so fucking ridiculous and whatever. But I'm just saying, Army of Darkness is great. They're all great. That's the problem. That's why but I feel like 2 stands out as people's like 1, if you will. Like 2 is
it's the Empire Strikes Back of Evil Dead.
Yeah. I wasn't going to go there, but
all right, Jeff.
I'm just going to see how long I can hold this puppet up for while we have this conversation.
That's very fantastic. Jeff, tell us about your experience with the Evil Dead overall and what you thought of Evil Dead 2.
Generally speaking, I've always loved this movie since the first time I've seen it when I was real young. There are some things in it that, I mean, obviously for the time, the effects were okay, but what I do really like about this movie is the fact that even at its shortcomings, the rest of it far exceeds it. You know what I mean? You don't even notice unless you're looking at a critical eye at it. You know what I mean? Like looking for issues with it. I do appreciate the fact that, and I think it was a really smart choice to make the demons have a sense of humor, right? Because when you think about demon and horror movies, it's always like all the demons wants to do is kill you. That's all they want to do. You know what I mean? Like with these, they were just effing with him the whole time. And that's really what makes it, you know what I mean? I think that's what set it aside, and what's still today, even nobody's ever learned to do this the same way again. You know what I mean? Even I didn't see the 2013 one, and I talked to Eli about it because what I really liked about the movie, and like I've said it before, I'm not necessarily a huge horror fan, but what I liked about this Evil Dead 2 is because it has that campy type of horror in it, or a campy type of comedy mixed in with the horror, right?
It doesn't take itself seriously.
And right. And from what I know, the new one doesn't do that. Like, it doesn't have that kind of, and to me, that's not Evil Dead. That, like, this is quintessential Evil Dead movie right here. They should have called it something else if it wasn't going to have that kind of, that kind of comedy and that kind of effort into it. So,
right. Okay.
Can't hear you, Dave.
Dave, you went out.
I was just gonna say, well, Jamie just died a little inside.
No, I just never, like I said, I've never watched it, and I probably wouldn't hate it. I just right.
No, here's the fight about 2013, because what you just said is exactly my rant when I left Rise. So here's the funny thing: like, Rise, I thought was not campy enough to be a Evil Dead, but it wasn't serious or gory enough to compare to the 2013. So the 2013 is just, in my opinion, a serious take on Evil Dead, and a gory, fucked up. If they went a serious route like one and like didn't do campy and got whatever, but again, that's my personal opinion. But Rise, my criticism was exactly what you just said, where like it wasn't campy enough to be an Evil Dead, and it didn't hold a candle to 2013.
It's like it doesn't have an identity anywhere.
Right. Yeah, but anyway, sorry, I'm not going to defend 2013 anymore. I will hold my tongue, and we will have this conversation. I will keep my mouth shut.
All right, John, tell us about your first experience with Evil Dead 2, the Evil Dead franchise as a whole, and what you thought of this movie.
Oh, well, I watched this this is one of the few old ones I watched back in high school, because it was like the film kids were all going crazy for it, talking about all the same things that we've already heard and will continue to hear for decades upon decades upon decades until we're probably dead. But it's a classic. I mean, there's nothing. I mean, there's really not much I can say that everybody else in any sort of podcast or internet forum hasn't already said. It's just, it's classic. It's so, I mean, Ash is great. What more do you, I mean, honestly, he is so iconic at this point. Like, what else do you need in this movie? You literally, all the other side characters, you could probably just toss out and it just be Ash and you'd be fine. Mm-hmm. It's just so good.
I really liked where him and all his friends went to the cabin in this movie.
Yeah, that was good. That was, Jeff
really with all his high school friends.
All his friends.
You make one mistake and they ride you like government mule. You make two mistakes and they ride you like government mules.
Wow. Wow. Eli.
Terrible.
I don't know about terrible, but it's something. But no, I love this movie. It's great. It's classic. Army of Darkness is right there with it. I want to say I saw Evil Dead 2 in Army of Darkness before I saw the original Evil Dead. Just the way it happened. And then obviously 2013 is great. And I'm probably the one and only person on this that did not have a problem with Rise. I enjoyed it. I thought it was fine. The animosity towards
I
don't.
John, get out.
I will not. I'm not going to sit here and defend or argue about it, but I guess the vitriol for it, I just don't quite get.
How dare you?
Eli and I could actually do a special edition if you want on why.
If we go into another Eli rant today,
why you're wrong.
I am probably just going to log off.
Recording.
Yeah, I don't think I have the energy either.
I don't. I will literally I would just quit this episode. I'll be like, go ahead. I got to go to bed.
Then later, Gator.
Don't tempt me, Eli.
All right, Eli. So come in and tell us about your experience with whichever movie you ended up with.
Listen, in all fairness, no, I do remember if you're looking at like the Campbell verse of Evil Dead, if I'm being honest, my favorite is probably Army of Darkness, followed by Evil Dead 1, then Ash versus Evil Dead, and then probably Evil Dead 2 is last. Not because it's bad or I don't like it. But there's still like that camp level, but obviously 2 is a little bit more polished than 1, and they made some changes like kind of within the setup, and then they removed some like some of the scares or scenes or whatever, and like where the reason I love the first one so much was that unpolished feel to it. And like right now it's like finals week, I'm back in school, and like so like I'll be like, it's been a long final I've been working on, so like I put it on to rewatch while I was like working on final, and I think my brain must have tricked me because like One's kind of my comfort. I like, don't get me wrong, 2 wasn't bad. I like every Bruce Campbell's Ash. I liked all of the Evil Dead projects he was in. I like the unpolishedness of it, because even like when you get to Ash, Army of Darkness, because it's such a wild idea, it almost feels like some of that polish falls off. Even like the different looks between like the Deadites versus like some like the monsters and like the skeletons and like things he fights in Army of Darkness, like it's so absurd and like you could tell like it's not something they've done and before, and it was like it's still that unpolished look. Like I think my why Evil Dead 2 was always my least favorite was just because it's just a little bit too polished for me. Where like even Ash versus Evil Dead, like the TV show, which was really good.
That's polished. That's really polished.
It is, but I think they did like with the
not season 1. They gave him more money after season 1.
But like even after that, with like some of the CG, they at times they almost gave it like that over Sci-Fi Channel stylized look.
A little.
So like it still felt kind of like
well, they still used Raimi vision, the big rush cameras and all that.
Right. No, but like I think that's why like I always like but if you're comparing like 1 and 2, I always like the charm of that unpolished and like even like some of like the makeup and like the Deadite eyes and stuff like that, just like the roughness, because obviously they were a lot more comfortable making this movie because they had more than $11 to make it with. So I think my brain subconsciously, and then like I get some of the changes they made in the second one as well. Like if I remember correctly, like they removed the tree scene from the beginning.
They changed it.
Right, but like it wasn't.
They didn't remove it. They did it twice.
Yeah.
But I thought it wasn't it's not as visceral as the first one.
It's not as rapey. No.
We
can just say that.
It was originally. They had to cut it back to try and get an R, which they didn't get. But the Bobby Joe one was supposed to be way over the top.
Yeah. Right. But I get like change there and like the what they had to do for that. But like I don't know. I always like the unpolishedness, and like I even like to like young Campbell, like Bruce Campbell, like it's I think because like but the second one he was like he kind of had that little bit of like I don't know, like his character develops a swagger where that's kind of missing a little in the first one, because they're all sleeping in that cabin on the floor while they're filming it, which I really like. But like I get that like this was kind of on the road for him to become like Bruce Campbell's Ash that you see in like Ash versus Evil Dead. So like I get it. I like all of them. We all know like 2013 one I'm fine with. I hated Rise, but like it really for me to like even rank them, it's a lot of just like nitpicky stuff. But
yeah, I think that's the thing. It's such a great series that you have a hard time that everyone might have a different favorite one, but then everybody loves them. And everything with Bruce Campbell we're going to talk about right now. But I'm just saying like, and I was like, not to go back to it, but like so surprised about the show for that reason too. But everybody seems to love everything with him. Yeah. So it's like ranking them, and Dave will do his too. But like it's nitpicky, like you said, because it's like they're all very quality is all here for it. Everything with him, I think quality is all here. Right. And it's just like,
I mean, I love Bubba Hotep because I think he brings that, like, it's a different character, but it's like that same kind of like energy and like that same kind of like just absurdity to it. Like I think it's really hard for people. I mean, maybe it's not, but like anything Bruce Campbell's in, it's really hard for me to like not like. Like for like these type of horror movies, like Man with a Screaming Brain, like I enjoy that movie. I know some people didn't like it, but like it's him, like it's him being in it, and like that's something I think I miss out of like the newer Evil Dead stuff. Is like that aspect of him, or even like them trying to maybe not necessarily with him, but like kind of replicating a larger than life character. Not it could be more serious at the age or whatever, but like I just.
Well, the thing I've always loved about Bruce Campbell is I've always gotten the sense, even if you see him in interviews or at cons or something, you always get the sense that Bruce Campbell, first and foremost, he loves movies.
Mm-hmm.
But secondarily to that, Bruce is an actor who actually understands how goofy and weird the movie industry is overall. Like, I've always celebrated him because even in the roles he's in, he's not taking them seriously because it's play acting. So he's just there to have a really good time. So,
well, that's why Army of Darkness is always my favorite. And I know a lot of people out of the three, that tends to be the one they like the least. But I always like that one because they took that concept of Evil Dead to such an absurdity level, and he went with it. He didn't fight it. He was right there in it. And it was almost like this vaudeville style, almost like old school black and white comedy with just the absurdity nonsense. And he was right there for the ride. He molded the character to fit that. And it was just like a fantasy setting. So I that's why I was like that one. But I 100% agree.
Fair enough. So for me, obviously, and I think we covered, well, I know we covered this in our Evil Dead 2013 review that we did in season 1, but this is my favorite of the Raimi universe, closely followed, to your point, Eli, by Army of Darkness, because Army of Darkness was my entry into the universe. That's the first one I saw, and then I worked my way back to the others because Army of Darkness came out when I think it was freshman year of college, and it's such a fun movie. AC/DC soundtrack. It's just a lot of fun. But if you go to that and then to 1, you're going to be really confused. But 2 is like the perfect primer between Army of Darkness and Evil Dead. It kind of stitches them together. But I genuinely love this movie. I love the fact that it was hyper gory and hyper experimental. I had never seen anything like it. It is such a different kind of freaking movie. It's inspired so many directors. I mean, this is a movie that gets referenced by people like Tarantino, Del Toro, Peter Jackson. I mean, all of the Dead Alive stuff wouldn't have happened if it hadn't been for Evil Dead, because it's if you watch Dead Alive or Brain Dead, depending on what part of the world you're in, it looks just like an Evil Dead movie because Peter Jackson was so inspired by the fact of seeing a director. And I think I think you were kind of hitting on it a minute ago, Eli. What you can see in what Raimi did in Evil Dead and Evil Dead 2 was he was a young filmmaker who was less interested in iterating off of somebody else's concept and more interested in doing something totally weird that he had in his head. He was trying to do something really genuinely, sincerely original. And I think he did that because his movies and his universe, to the point you all made earlier, it doesn't look like it. It doesn't refer to anything else. We talked a little bit about this when we talked about Sleepaway Camp and how it kind of iterates off of what Friday the 13th is. And Friday the 13th was iterating off of what Halloween was. Raimi doesn't feel like any of those movies, because that was not what he was interested in. And it wasn't even as if he was interested in creating, quote unquote, a franchise. That was never his intention. His intention was to do some really weird stuff with the people that he loved. Everybody that was in the cast were people that he loved, and it's well established and covered on 1,000 different interviews, the relationship that Bruce and Sam had. Bruce, Sam, Ted, all of them kind of grew up together in high school making these kinds of movies in their backyard. But what I'll say about Bruce, every time I watch Evil Dead 2, I get so much joy out of how much fun Bruce Campbell is having just being completely over the top. And first, it really helps the sale of this movie that Bruce Campbell freaking looks like Clark Kent. He looks like he jumped completely out of a comic book. Just his facial features and his frame, he looks like a comic book hero. He's got the strong jaw, and he literally, like I said, he looks like Clark Kent. And then he's doing all of this over the top, gory, nasty, running through slamming himself in the mud, fighting his own hand, and all this kind of stuff. All this stuff that you might see in an improv class, but you've never really seen in a movie, that somebody would so over the top give themselves to the goofiness of a role. And it only happens obviously because Bruce trusts Sam and Sam trusts Bruce, and they're just having a good time making a fun movie. But I love watching him just get to chew on every scene that he's in, and he gets to do more of that in Army of Darkness. But there's something special about this one. It's like a one camera, one one scene, like there's one set, which is this cabin, and he just gets to just literally throw himself through walls and fight himself and all that stuff. I just enjoy it so much. It does feel like a backyard film, but it feels like a backyard film that's being made by a really talented group of people. Like this is one of those, it's not indie in that it's not like what's his name who made The Witch. It's not that kind of indie movie. This is a indie movie of people that just freaking love movies. They love everything about movie making. They're not trying to be artistic and they're not trying to be auteurs. They're just trying to make a really fun movie with the people that they enjoy making movies with. This time, and this is the first time I've done this, at the moment when Bruce literally gets grabbed by the demon and thrown to the bridge, which literally is the end of the movie. Guess how far into this movie that is? Like they told the entire story of the first movie in 15 minutes.
Oh, I was about to guess. Yeah, it's really short. He gets it. Everything happens in the beginning of this movie, like from very, very quickly.
Exactly. Yeah. The first, and that's the thing I would push back on anybody, because you hear it all the time that Evil Dead 2 is just a remake of Evil Dead 1. It's not. The first 15
just the beginning,
minutes is a remake of Evil Dead 1. And then you get all of the stuff that they wanted to add to it. And I was always curious about that. And then I read an article this week after watching the movie, and I watched it twice this week because I'm selfish. But I read an article and realized what had happened was Sam Raimi, his relationship with the original Evil Dead distribution group had expired. So he didn't have access to any of that footage from the first movie. So he literally reshot it and covered it in this movie so that he would have the footage. Because usually, like if you saw a Friday the 13th or anything, they open those movies with scenes from the last movie. He couldn't do that this time. So he literally just reshot a big chunk of the first movie just so he would have the footage, which I thought was fantastic. But I was reminded this time of how fast he does and how efficiently and how like tight that is. Like I don't think there's anything left out, which is why people think this is just a remake of the first one, because the whole story's there. Like you have the Necronomicon, the girlfriend getting possessed, the fight, the getting her head lopped off, buried, and then him getting grabbed by the demon. But that all happens in the first friggin' 15 minutes of this movie. That's amazing that he covers all of that. So anyway, that's all my big thoughts. This is top 5 horror for me because I love the punk rock aspect of Evil Dead. And I think I referenced that in the Evil Dead 2013. If it was a music genre, Evil Dead is punk because it is garage band, dirty. I don't care what you think of me. I'm not trying to fit in. I don't care if I make money. I'm going to make something that I really love. Evil Dead has always been punk rock. So I've always enjoyed that about it. It doesn't carry any of the social or political baggage that other horror movies, even back in the 80s.
Which is why it's a Jaime pick.
Exactly. It has none of that like baggage that it's carrying with. It's just a freaking fun, gory, nasty movie. So
it's also, I think it's important to note, which I get you guys, but like what you just said before about them having fun and whatever, and like not trying, at the same time too, not that you were saying the opposite. I'm just adding, like, at the same time too, it is beautifully shot at moments. And like, there's things that Raimi has done that people have copied, or there's things that he's done, but like, there's just some, like, when you're watching it, like, there are some shots that I was like, oh, these, like, they're well done because he's a good filmmaker. Mm-hmm. And it's like, for such a, let's just call it your term, for such a punk rock movie and such a, I don't give a fuck. It's funny that like, you still see his, like, he can't, like, the talent is there and the I don't give a fuck attitude, which is like the greatest combo ever, because like your shit's gonna look good. And
I mean, even in the original, the stuff he pulled off with like that budget and like the fact that like they were like freezing to death, all sleeping on the floor of this like moldy cabin, like the stuff he was able to pull off with that one. And I think that's why like I kind of felt one, like the guy has an eye. I really wish he would go back to doing like almost little independent work.
Can you? I mean, I think Sam Raimi, can you?
I think you can go back to doing like I think he should quit doing studio projects and he should start doing his own projects. Because look at the new Doctor Strange. Like that would have been really cool if we actually got a Raimi version of that, but like we didn't. We got like a Raimi painted Disney version that didn't really make sense or jive together. Because whatever, like Drag Me to Hell, I would argue is like.
Oh, I love Drag Me to Hell.
See, I do not.
Oh, I do.
Doctor Strange was like the donkey lady of Sam Raimi.
like Drag Me to
I think that's what served him so well in these early movies is he's a comic book guy.
Yeah.
You can see comic book framing in the Evil Dead franchise.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
for framing a lot of that stuff.
For sure. Like, do a different character. Like, do something smaller. Like, I don't know, do something for DC because at this point, I think they'd let anybody do anything.
He just needs to do something without being restrained by the
right. Marvel was never
big
right,
studios.
which is
that's the problem. Like, and that's what happened with that Doctor Strange movie was they had to reshoot it and they had to take stuff out and they put the Disney thumb on it and it's like, you're never going to get a good experience.
He should have known right from the beginning Marvel and Disney wasn't going to let him have any control over that.
Yeah, I'm not sure why he thought,
like I wish he would just like I said, I get maybe he can't go back as independent, but like I kind of wish he would go the route of like picking his own projects, maybe with some smaller studios, where he'd have a little bit more control and just kind of like do what he wants. Because then I think you'd see some good stuff again, and not Justin Long yelling at a hole for 45 minutes.
Are you talking about Drag Me to Hell?
I am talking about Drag Me to Hell.
In the end for 5 seconds?
Well, they're in the cemetery. He's yelling. He wasn't even in that scene, but he was just yelling. Every time he was in that scene,
to the cemetery.
I know that's what I'm saying. He wasn't, but every time he's in that movie, he's yelling. Like every scene almost.
All right.
Are you sure you watched the right movie?
Yeah,
I was going to say, you probably watched the wrong movie.
No, listen,
are you talking about Barbarian? Because that's
so I remember I like Barbarian actually.
I like Barbarian too.
That was one of my favorite Justin Long movies. But but yeah, I wish Sam Raimi. Like I every director has one more good one in him,
I don't think Sam Raimi's done by any
I don't either. I just think he needs to like maybe like I said, go to a little bit like take a chance, a little smaller studio that'll let him do whatever he wants. And like I think you could see something good again.
You know what I want him to do, and this is just going back to what we're like this movie, but I want him to, and I know I know Bruce Campbell, I think, has lied, but said he's done playing Ash, but then he does the video game and then he does whatever. But like, I want my movie to end Ash versus Evil Dead. Like I don't need the series. I love the series, but I don't need another season. I want like a movie to cap it off where we left it. If you've seen the series, I just want a movie to take over where that series
Ash
ended.
Goes to hell and whips ass.
Yeah. And give us like that ending or whatever. Yeah. And then like and then let them retire Evil Dead on that. I don't need another Rise and I don't need another of these.
You're gonna get it.
I know. Well, that's the problem.
They already announced it.
Yeah, I love 2013, but for me that was an anomaly because I'm realizing I'm not gonna like these new ones anymore. I either need Bruce Campbell, or that's it really, or it's the 2013. I'm gonna set that on a shelf and that's fine. But like, I don't need these new ones without him because I thought they would follow the 2013 and they don't. So, give me the Ash versus Evil Dead finale like in a movie. And, people like Sam Raimi, like has enough money to fund it. Like, let's give me this on a streaming network. It was originally on Stars or whatever. So if that's where it goes back or if it wants to go somewhere else, give me some more Ashy Slashy. Just finish it out.
Yeah. I don't think this universe is done.
Puppets making my hands sweat. Sorry.
Get the sweaty palms. I did want to mention because Eli just talked about them sleeping on the cabin floor. Just know that Dave grew up 30 minutes from Morristown, Tennessee, which is where the original was shot, at the cabin where it was shot. And we did twice. We did go up there and sneak onto the property and go up to the cabin. Now, the cabin was pretty well destroyed by Sam and the team.
I own a piece of it.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, there was the guy that owns a lot of the rights to the Night of the Living Dead props and stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
And he when like it was like the pieces of whatever that was left, he went and bought it all, and then you could he was selling pieces of it.
Isn't there stuff in the museum near you guys? Didn't we see that?
Yeah, that's the guy. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Isn't the cabin in there? Like pieces of that we saw
front,
when we went.
Yeah, he basically kind of put it together.
Yes,
the front of it.
Yeah.
And then
I had pictures of it.
The parts that he couldn't use to build back up, he just sold his pieces. I ended up going back in and buying a piece of it.
Yeah, he probably just sold you a piece of plywood.
No, it's got certificate authentication with it and everything.
A certificate.
No way,
you say?
No way you can fake that. You got me there.
Definitely not.
What John and Jamie didn't know and might break their heart a little to find out now is they were only like 35 minutes away from the original Evil Dead cabin when they came and visited last year.
Look at that!
But the cabin's not there. It was literally just. I think now it's like the base of the chimney.
Well, yeah, part of it is in the mall in
Monroeville.
Yeah.
I think there's a hole where the cellar was, and then the chimney is all that's.
I mean, I would still take a picture on it. Like, I'd still be like, I was just going to make a Brooklyn Nine-Nine reference. I don't know if anyone watched it, but when he goes to the tower and he's like, take my picture with it. And it's like everything from Die Hard. That'd be me. Take my picture with it.
So we'll jump into some conversation and questions. And obviously, I'm going to let Jamie kick it off. What are the things that you want to talk about? What's most important to you that you want to talk with us about?
Oh, I have no idea. You're better at coming up with the questions. I actually was going to ask one thing that, like, again, everybody in the horror community loves this movie. So it has nothing to do with
it's what not a we all think. Film,
yeah. And it's not hasn't to do with the people in the horror community as a whole or that have watched, but like, we also watch some modern or like Deathgasm is like a modern Evil Dead. And there was another one that I was just like, oh my God, that I was just thinking of. And of course, as we have this conversation, I can't remember it. But that was obviously blatantly influenced by this also. But
that we've reviewed?
Probably that we watched. Yeah, I can't think of it. And it's not Scout's Guide. It was like something else. Oh, it'll come to me because it literally came to me early today and I didn't write it down thinking I'll remember. And now I don't. No. It's like it was closer to Deathgasm in feel, but I don't know. It does not matter.
Antlers, totally.
Oh
right
my God!
But
because that was a joke.
That's the one.
But my question is, and I hope the answer is yes. But my question is, does Evil Dead 2, as it exists, get appreciated by someone who sits down and watches it now for like the first time? I fear to say no. Like my heart says no. And whether it's budget, whether it's how, like you said, how unpolished, because people are so used to even their indie movies being super polished or looking, you know what I mean? But so does this, as I'm watching him smash himself in the head with a plate, and as I'm watching him do these things that I love, this movie is beloved, but like all this over the top slapstick and overacting, we don't really have and maybe it's just, I don't watch enough movies, so I only watch horror, but like we don't have a Bruce Campbell, I don't think in 2024 or someone that like exists like that. I'm sure we've had some of them. Jack Black was kind of for comedy's sake, right? Overacting. What's his face? Jim Carrey. Again, these are 90s movies though that I'm referencing. They're not in like 2024. So like, does someone sit down now, even in the horror, say they're getting into horror, say it's a young kid who's getting into horror, and like, do they sit down and watch Evil Dead, and would they have the affinity for it that we do? And no, right? Like the answer.
No.
I can tell you about a story of somebody you just saw for the first time, like
an adult,
a year and a half, 2 years ago. Yes. Yeah. No, she was trying to get into horror. She listens to our show, and me and her husband made her watch Evil Dead 2. We were talking about it, saying how great it was. You got to watch it. It's like funny. It's over the top. It's great. It's great.
It is a classic. Yeah.
And she sat down, like utter silence the whole time. We were laughing our asses off, watching this movie, enjoying ourselves. And it's just like pure silence. And at the end, like, well, what'd you think? Say, meh.
Yeah.
Look, there's
a weird movie. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know that. I think it's like there's a guy I work with, and like he's into older horror. He doesn't really like newer horror, and he's trying to get his son into horror. And like he showed him all these like old movies. The kid's never heard of them. The kid's like, I don't know, 17, 18, never heard of any of them until he shows them. And he has not liked a lot of the old ones because of like how they look and like they're boring and like whatever. And like, so then he'll come to me and go, well, what's a newer one that we can watch together that he might like? Like this kid didn't like Jaws. He didn't like the original Evil Deads. Like he didn't like the original Halloween. Like none of that stuff. Cause
so this is my answer. Yeah. That's
so like,
what I thought.
I think we're in that time frame where like, I think that you're finding people that like Evil Dead are gonna, at the oldest, probably reference the 2013 one, but more than likely they're gonna like probably that new shit one more.
Oh yeah, absolutely. The new shit one, yeah, people liked it, and I don't know how many of them that have,
no, because there's toxic mold everywhere.
There's people who love the original that liked it. That's fine, but I feel like there's a lot of just modern moviegoers that like the new one because and it's a totally different movie than Evil Dead. We've discussed that and whatever, but
and that's a great way to articulate kind of my opinion on that is, and this is an old man opinion, and I fully embrace that. I recognize, but I'm answering your question as honestly as I can, Jamie. Is the experience I've had with talking about younger people about horror is the audience takes themselves so freaking seriously these days that whatever film, whatever art form, whether it's music, film, whatever the art form is that they're interacting with, it has to in some way reflect a social position for them to embrace it or to celebrate it. And it becomes really hard. And this is not a movie that does that.
No.
But to your point, I think that's why Evil Dead Rise gets a pass or gets celebrated, because it takes a social position on stuff. I don't know that people, and we talked about this a little when we reviewed Thanksgiving, if you remember back in end of 2023, because Eli Roth, that's what he's doing. He was making a movie without a social position. It was just a horror movie, straight, flat, clean cheeseburger, as I referenced.
Oh, that's right. It's a cheeseburger. Yep.
But I don't know that there's a lot of demand, unfortunately, for a straight, flat, just horror movie without taking a position. The position almost is the thing, and elevated horror is a term that we've kind of embraced as a community, which I friggin' hate.
Me too, but
I don't think there's anything unelevated about what Sam Raimi did with Evil Dead 2, but it's not elevated horror because it's not trying to make a statement. It's just he's going to experiment within filmmaking. But again, if you're as an audience, if you're taking yourself so seriously that my art needs to reflect my position, then this ain't for you. It's not going to be for you. That's it's just a shame because like a movie like this is so beloved and like it's losing its like, we all still love it, and that's probably why the show, like, what was 3 seasons, because you have a built-in audience, but that's all you have, because I'm not even the show, which is modern, still has the same feel of these movies. And it's like, if you don't get that, if you don't get Bruce Campbell's shtick, if you don't get any of that, or you don't get it, I'm sorry, but like don't love that or don't embrace that, and the dumb Deadites and the comedy and the Deadites, like Jeff Ruffer, you know what I mean? Like, it's just like, then even the show again is like, you can't pick up a broad audience with it, because it's just like, you have to know that world in a way or embrace that world in a way.
I hate to tell you, but I'm sure there's some old people who had the same conversation 20 years ago about no one's watching Psycho or The Blob. Or
like
anymore. We are, I think, I hate to say it, I think we're the old people on the porch now. Like, these young kids don't know how to appreciate anything.
Fair, but we are talking about a horror staple, like a staple of horror. Evil Dead is what?
Psycho.
10 of horror, I feel like.
At one point, Psycho was too.
Right, yeah.
I know,
but it's a staple of that genre of horror, or that time frame of horror, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
But
isn't that kind of the thing, though? Like, and from my view, once again, I'm not a huge horror fan, but it looks like everything is basically homogenized now. Like, whether it's a horror film, whether it's an action film, whether it's a drama film, it doesn't matter. It's all basically the same. Like, you know what I'm saying? And that's why nobody can appreciate anything, because everything's exactly the same.
Yeah. Because that's what's safe. Mm-hmm. And I watched a really good think piece on YouTube. There's a
what's that mean?
But there was somebody who had done a little piece about the mid-budget movie dying, like the death of the mid-budget movie. They're either small, very small indie film, small
$500 billion,
hundreds of $1 million like MCU movies. That's what they make in Hollywood now. And all of those mid-budget movies go direct to streaming series. Like they don't make movies anymore with that budget. They make series that go directly to Netflix, Hulu, whatever it is, which is, and I totally take your point, Eli. Maybe that's a tragedy to me, but the new generation says that just makes more sense, because then you get to tell a 8-hour story rather than a 1-hour story, and you really get to flesh something out with that money. So it's
or you get to tell an hour story and drag it out for 8 hours. That's
like Rebel Moon.
That is more likely the scenario.
Oh, you talking about Rebel Moon? That's what it sounds like you're talking about.
Very few series that you can follow for 8 hours and not at least have 1 or 2 filler episodes, which is, to me, seems ridiculous. Like,
but I will defend things like The Boys, which is a direct series, which is probably one of the smartest things that's been put together in a long time. I mean,
I've been meaning to watch it. I haven't.
It's so good.
It's a critique of the MCU and Disney and all comic book movies, and it's so smart. So I get that, and even new series like Reacher and those kind of things, they're great pieces, but those are what we're going to get instead of the.
My only problem with Reacher is he's supposed to be like this covert guy, and that guy's like 6'5", 300 pounds, and I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, nobody notices this guy walking around punching people in the face. It's like,
well, there's that like one scene where he realizes like this woman's getting robbed at an ATM, and he's like, "I'll help you," as he like dismantles half the car with his fist, and like people are just walking by. He's like throwing the gun around. It's just like, what the shit's happening? He's a spy, the worst spy in the world.
Yeah. Hi, I'm a lawn maintenance person.
Yeah. Like no.
Now, I will say that you put, because Dave, I'm the same person. I'm the same way as you. I'm that righteous fury every week about like the older films, but I also noticed that like I like you can kind of see what the modern ones are going to be. Like I think A Quiet Place, like you give it like 10 years, and I think The Quiet Place is going to be one of those ones that was like so different than all the
which one of the 7 Quiet Places did they make?
Well, there's only been 2.
Well, they're making 3. Another one. They're
making a third one.
It's the prequel.
I've only seen the first one.
Yeah, but they made 3 of the original Evil Dead. So like,
but they were
series
good,
happens.
So.
Both of the Quiet Places were good.
Yeah,
I don't like the Quiet Place either. Thanks, Jeff.
But to make my point,
Megan is the new Megan universe.
No, God. To make a point, there's like it's different. It was like different than like even that first one, like that theater experience of like how quiet the theater, like that's something.
Oh yeah, that was a weird. Yeah, you're right. That was an experience. Yeah,
right. And I think like. Those are so rare, and you can kind of
maybe because I saw it in my house with my dog snoring, so I didn't play again.
Yeah, but like in the theater, like it was a thing because like I've never like in that theater, like you didn't hear anybody chew popcorn. You didn't hear like it was the quietest theater, and it was a full theater. It was like the quietest theater experience I ever had. Like, but I think like you're gonna see like those movies that are kind of, but like it's not like we're like people like now we can point back to like the 70s and 80s, and like I can name 15, 20 movies that are just like, oh, they did this and like it was so great. And like, unfortunately, I think like as we get farther from that, like it's going to be less and less like each. I mean, if you look back at like the early 2000s, I can think of maybe like 5, 10.
Well, I would say,
but aren't you equating that theater experience with the quality of the movie?
I'm not even saying, well, I mean a movie that is different in general, right? So like if I look back to like the 70s and 80s, like the Friday the 13th, like that was something different, right? Like Halloween was something different. Like they were able to stand out, and like, yeah, like there were some shitty versions and like some bad versions, but like there was also like these moments within them that were like really good. We're like, then we got this place in like the early 2000s, like late 90s, where it's like it all became ghost movies for the longest time, or like these like demon movies, like they just weren't like, but you didn't see the demon, like it was the same shit they just kept remaking, or they were doing like the 15th remake of like Scream, or the 19th reboot of Halloween, but not they never felt like Halloween movies. Like,
well, I mean, what I hear you saying is basically there's going to be a couple movies in a sea of shit. And that's how it always is. I mean, that's how everything is. There's going to be 1 or 2 things that stand out, right? But everything else is just going to be, once again, homogenized, like...
Right. But what I'm saying is, like, the boats are getting...
people-friendly, like...
Right. But what I'm saying is, like, the boats are getting further and further apart in that sea of shit.
Well, like, I would say, I would defend that the 80s horror scene, if quote-unquote scene, it was, like, the height of... social commentary, like
I would agree.
Carpenter was making social commentary, Craven was making social commentary, even Hooper was making a lot. Everything was sort of impregnated with this social commentary. And then Raimi comes along as this kid from Detroit who just wants to make a gory, nasty, violent movie with his friends. And you couldn't put it in one of those slots. Like, it wasn't trying to have a greater message. The guy just wanted to put as much really cool effects into a movie as he possibly could.
Right. But they were all taking
it reminds me of my modern favorite director, who I'm not forcing everybody to watch in the next 4 movies. But
wait,
Damien Leone. Like, it reminds me of
100%.
Like, just everything like Dave is saying, you know.
Right. Well, because like Dave, even to your point, like, like Raimi wasn't making a point, but he was doing something they were all doing. They were all taking risks. Like, if you look at those Friday the 13th, like each one was trying to outdo the effects from the original one and get gorier and make Jason a bigger monster. Like Halloween, they were trying to make him more of a boogeyman. Like they all kind of took risk during that time frame. And like, then it got to a place where like there's been 1,100 Annabelle movies at this point, and they're all the same movies. You could play all 9 Annabelle movies at the same time, and I couldn't tell you probably which one is which.
Yeah, well, that's because modern filmmaking is a math problem. It's not an art form anymore. It's a math problem.
Right. Well, right. Like I said, there's no risk. And like to Jamie's point, like Damien Leone, like I even had problems with the second Terrifier, but like it's probably one of the better films I saw last year, just because it was different. He was taking a risk doing something.
It's also still, as we're saying it's also still someone doing what they want to do without movie studio getting in the way. And it might have been too much. We've had this conversation. Yes, it needed an editor, but you know what? It's like, to Raimi's point, like someone, you know, he's making it with his friends, doing what he wants to do. And like, you know, I think that's, you know, the important part of some of these being the same thing with like Evil Dead. And it's like, do we think Bruce Campbell will ever play Ash again? I'd like to think that he still would, even though he keeps saying no. But like, if they do this movie to close out the series or something, whatever, do we think?
I think the answer for that question is always, whether it's a beloved, whether it's a Harrison Ford or whoever it is, in something that we cherish from our childhood. I think the answer is always going to be, if the right script comes along,
they'll do it.
They'll be game.
Especially if it's going to ruin the character, they'll 100% do it, like Harrison Ford.
Yeah, they just had to wait Harrison Ford out until he becomes an angry old man.
So Harrison Ford, I think, takes a paycheck. Bruce Campbell, I think, will not let Ash Williams get destroyed. Like, you know what I'm saying?
I think the problem with Harrison Ford was, after your 11th plane accident, like those insurance bills are really expensive. So he was like, fuck it, another Indiana Jones, sure. Another Star Wars, why not? Oh, you may come back to Star Wars Ghost in one? Fuck it. I just had my 13th plane accident. I've never met a man who wrecked more planes and has not died as Harrison Ford. It's absurd. And the fact that he still walks around with his like pirate earring, like it's absurd. It's absurd.
Maybe not last, one of the last, because I haven't gone in a while, horror conventions I went to, Bruce Campbell was there, obviously. But like, he showed up, and it's like, he showed up in a purple velvet suit, like head to toe, and his sunglasses on. And he doesn't take his sunglasses off. He's like me, indoors. It's like, we don't take our sunglasses off. And I like took a picture of, I didn't wait to meet him, because like, I quite honestly, at conventions don't have the patience to do that. You lose half your day waiting in line for something. I would love to meet Bruce Campbell, but I'm not waiting 2 hours to meet Bruce Campbell. It's like a different, you know, so I was taking a picture of him. I got yelled at because, you know, if you're going to take the picture, you have to fucking meet him. But like, I have it somewhere, just him in his purple with his sunglasses on, just sitting there and like being all Bruce Campbell and just being the coolest fucking guy in the room at all times.
He came to a con here, and he was wearing, but it was a gold like blazer and pants. Yeah. And like, we stood outside because where like they do like their Q&A stuff, he was doing it, and like that man can work a crowd. Like, we're just standing outside and listening to him, because they leave the door open, because the convention center is small, so it's like 900 degrees in there. But like, just listen to him like work the crowd. He's standing there in his sunglasses, his like bright gold suit.
Well, like, and that's to the point I made earlier. I mean, of all of the actors that I've always loved, Bruce has always been the one who seems to be able to see through the BS of the film industry. Like, he is there not only to celebrate, but to literally make fun of Hollywood, you know, as an industry. Like, he's totally on board with both giving the middle finger to and celebrating kind of what he gets to do for a living, which I think is fantastic.
I have no more questions. Dave, you have to have something. Like I came up with that one. That was like a good one. And then,
and I totally recognize that we have spent very little time talking about the actual movie and more time talking about the overall universe, which I'm totally okay with, because I think Evil Dead 2 is the movie where you do that, because it is sort of the representative best of breed in a lot of ways of what Raimi was trying to do in the 80s. So
it's also, I think, a series. I know, again, just what you were just saying, and maybe I'm wrong, but like, maybe because there's so many of the other ones, like Friday the 13th or Halloween. But it's also, though, a series that I feel like, especially, I guess, if you liked it, maybe you watched the first one, you didn't, and then whatever. But it's a series that everybody has seen them all. So like when you do review it or when you talk about it, you kind of talk about the universe, because like it kind of like a Star Wars, or because there's very few people who have seen like one of them and hasn't watched through the whole series.
Right,
and
exactly.
Basically, when you talk about it, you're talking about the whole thing as a story and like referencing him, referencing Army of Darkness or whatever, like, because you just do. Like, again, I think people have watched, there's people who watched one, John's friend, and have not watched it. But like, no. I'm saying in the horror community, most people have seen the Evil Dead series. And whether your favorite is Army of Darkness, 2, 1, the TV show, I know
you've consumed them all either way.
Yeah, you've consumed everything.
Well, it was always crazy to me because, like, when they started Freddy versus Jason, that was supposed to be a whole franchise, and like the hero of that franchise was Ash, because the sequel was supposed to be Michael versus Pinhead, and then Ash was going to come in at the end as the hero. And like they never made it to that, but they did a comic series of it.
Yes,
and it was
they did.
Ash versus Freddy versus Jason versus Michael versus Pinhead, and like it was the most absurd. I bought all of them. It was the most absurd thing I ever in my life. But I loved it because like whoever, I can't remember the guy's name who wrote it, but he was able to like get Bruce Campbell, like the essence of like Ash in that series. It was ridiculous. It was the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen Ash fight a Cenobite, Michael, Jason, and Freddy all at the same time with his boomstick and his chainsaw. It was absurd. Loved it. Bought all of it.
Well, and that's the argument I've made to some friends when we've talked to, because there's obviously a crossover with Sam Raimi between the comic nerds and the horror nerds. And I've always kind of made the comparison that Ash in the horror universe is the Batman from the comic universe. Like Ash, he doesn't have any special powers. He's not from another planet. He doesn't have any superpowers. He's just a guy who's going to get the job done. And that's what I've always loved about Batman. Batman, of course, he's unrealistically rich. Sure.
Yeah.
But he's just a guy. You can still beat the crap out of him. And that's what Ash is. He's a punching bag, but he's going to win in the end. He's going to find a way to get pissed off enough to take care of the dead-out situation. He's sort of the Batman of that world. So that's why I've always kind of celebrated Ash. I'm not a Superman guy. I'm not a Captain America guy. I'm a Batman guy. So that's why Ash was always my dude. So one of the questions, to the point Jaime made, I do have a couple, but one of the questions I'm most interested to talk about with you all is, what is Evil Dead 2? Because this is the ongoing, and we're not going to answer it. It's the ongoing inevitable conversation that you get to. Is it a sequel? Is it a reboot? Is it an iteration? What is Evil Dead 2? Because it's such a freaking different thing.
Has to be a reboot, right? Like it's not a sequel because they don't reference the first movie at all. Not one time do they reference first movie.
Yeah.
So it literally is a reboot. It's the re-beginning of the Evil Dead universe. Boom, question answered. Whoever says anything else doesn't know.
I mean, I do agree. If they touched at all on it, but he's experiencing everything again for the first time.
Exactly.
Everything's happening for the first, and it's like, we saw an iteration of it, but now we're just doing it again. So I guess reboot is the proper.
But a reboot is a retelling. But like I said, in this one, the first movie is like only the first 15 minutes. It's like almost an evolution.
Yeah, but I think you're getting this semantics.
Still a retelling. I think it's a retelling.
It cannot. There's no way it can be a sequel because they don't reference. Like he doesn't even acknowledge. There's no acknowledgement in this movie of the first. No. There's no callback to the first one. There's no nothing. It's literally, this is where the story starts.
And if you watch his first short, Within the Woods, that's just the bones of Evil Dead. Like, there's Within the Woods, Evil Dead 2 are all the same exact story. It's just an expansion of that story.
Yeah. And while I was watching it, it's funny because like this question is in my head, but so much more of I was just like, well, why'd he name it 2? Like, I just find it hilarious because he obviously did that on purpose, but it's like, it's not a 2. It's a 1A or whatever, or it's a.
Can you imagine having been a big fan of the 1981 Evil Dead and going and seeing Evil Dead 2 and sitting there going, what the hell is this? It would have been amazing to have that experience.
See, I think he does like the Universal stuff. Like, and he was kind of like, once again, he was like one of those OGs, like universe films. Like, it's almost like we're in the same universe. It's just a different story, even though it kind of looks like the same story. And like, I think that he did that on purpose. Like he was a comic book guy, and it almost reminds me of like, I mean, how many times have they done Thanos in Marvel? And every time's fucking different, and every time's the first. Yeah, but it's not. And like, so like that's what like, so like that's why like I always call it a spiritual remake, reboot, sequel. Like it's kind of all of it. Like it's just more of like, hey, this is the universe. This is what we're doing here.
Yeah,
come in for the ride.
We'll call it a reshoot of the first one. How about that?
Yeah, and that's what I think it is. I literally think that Within the Woods allowed him to flesh the story out for Evil Dead. Evil Dead allowed him to flesh the story out for Evil Dead 2. And Evil Dead 2 is the jumping off point for Army of Darkness. Like Evil Dead 2 finally gave him, okay, this is where this story is going to go. Like if you watch Evil Dead after watching Evil Dead 2, you recognize that the end of Evil Dead is just an ending. Like he doesn't know where to go with it. It's just, he wanted to tell a tight little story. He ended with whether you assume that Ash is gotten by the demons or that he escapes. At the end, it's just this slam zoom on Ash, right? This one actually takes the story and goes somewhere. Now it goes somewhere you would never expect. Like he freaking time travels to another dimension.
I love it so much.
Like you're so confused at the end of this movie, but it's in such a fantastic way. Like there's the Delta 88 falling out of the sky, and then there's a bunch of knights, and you're like, what the hell is happening?
Well, it's really weird because there's like sorry, go ahead, Jamie.
No. I was gonna say that just goes back to my question earlier because like now like as I was watching it, like can you imagine someone watching that for the first time and be like, what? Like we all know. We're like, fuck, Army of Darkness comes next, guys. Exactly. Like that, you know.
Well, right, because they have that picture in those torn pages in Comic-Con where it's him in a chainsaw hand. Like it's
1987. Like, you're like, what did I just watch?
Right. Yeah. If you watch this for the first time, you'd be like, why is that in the Book of the Dead? That doesn't make any fucking sense.
It's like, you know? Even like the imagery, which it looks like it should be on the side of a van, but also just like in Army of Darkness, like there's that scene where he's like wearing his Ash clothes, but then he's got on a cloak. Yeah. It's like the most absurd fucking visual. Cause like everybody around him like just okay with this. Like, oh, he's a hero. Like
obviously
that's what heroes do. And it's like, it was like the most, like, I love, like, that's why Army of Darkness is my favorite. Cause like it is so metal and absurd. And just, everyone steers into it. But like, even just like, he kicks up like just the nonsensical visualization style to like 10, because that like, and the fact that he like all these versions of Ash, like these iconic versions of Ash, like if you look at like the action, there's an action figure of him with that cloak in his regular clothes in like the old times. There's like, you know, with him with the chainsaw hand first time, like the fact that they were able to get like it's just even in Ash vs Evil Dead, there's like these, like he still does these like the old man iconic Ash pose, like it's just it's crazy.
It is, and like I said, there's probably not an answer to that question. It's just one that I wanted to ask because it is such a different thing. Like, imagine if Friday the 13th Part 2 actually ended with Jason falling through a time warp into feudal Japan.
Why haven't we done that?
Exactly.
We've gone to space instead.
Well,
only Raimi has the sack to make that call in his second movie to make that happen. So
yeah, so early of his career too, like to just be like, oh, this is what we're doing. This is what we're doing. Let's see if they let me make a third.
Which is brilliant about that, because if you see Evil Dead 2, you have to have Army of Darkness. Like you can't stop there. You've got to You've got to tell me why the hell I just saw that ending, which is pretty brilliant from a director filmmaker standpoint. Which leads me to my second question. Raimi, Carpenter, Craven, Clive Barker, even, who has the best overall horror library?
Oh, fuck.
Oh, I know them's fighting words, but hey, that's what I'm here for.
Clive's out of the running. If I'm being honest.
Really?
Yeah. He's like,
visually,
honestly,
he's one of my favorites, though.
No, like, I'm not going to disagree with you.
Up,
and so unique. Yeah.
Once again, don't disagree.
No, I know. I'm just like,
if you're looking at the arena, I would say is a lot of his other stuff fell short, and like Hellraiser was where he hung his hook on, and then his involvement. But in all fairness, after you get past like the first, like I would even argue like the third, and like I kind of like the fourth one, but like those movies went downhill so hard that even like towards like it till like there was like a weird spot recently where like I liked the one, I think it was Judgment or whatever, I didn't mind, but like it took such a hard turn. I feel like a lot of people fell from them. Like even like the thing where it's like if you look at and like Clive himself did not come out with a lot of bangers, but like if you look at someone like, I think like if you're looking at the Gauntlet, like you're looking at like Carpenter, Craven, like they're the ones that kind of had the Titans. I would say more Titans than the other two. So I feel like
they're more Titans, but are they as consistent? You know, what
I would say like
as
Carpenter.
A universe that you celebrate. Which of those universes?
I mean, I would say
because Raimi's pretty.
You look at Carpenter created the Nightmare on Elm Street universe. Or not Carpenter, Craven. Excuse me. Carpenter had the Halloween universe. Like they both started to the.
People are going to crucifix me. I don't like the Halloween movies. They're like one of my least favorite series. Yeah, I find them fucking boring.
Those don't feel like universes to me.
They don't, but they're also.
They feel like it's just like there's a guy killing people. All right.
And Craven created Scream, which is one of my favorite horror movies of all time. But like.
Well, I mean, a lot of them
are so unique.
I can't take out Clive Barker. I can't because he's created like if you ask me visually,
especially the lady Cenobites.
Listen, listen. The Lovecraftian demons of Barker, like Clive Barker, I love them. Trust me, I'm not arguing with you. But it's like I mean, his writing probably, but like film wise, that was kind of it. And even then, like they fall off hard. Whereas, like, even if you look at something like Halloween or like Nightmare on Elm Street, like, yeah, there's rough spots, but there's not as consistent drop off. Like, there's plug and play with those, so like, which is why they've survived so long. Where if you look at Hellraiser, like they died after 5, and then they tried to bring it back for 6, but they couldn't, and then they wanted to make this other movie, but no one wanted to make it because it was stupid, so they're like, well, let's fucking add Pinhead and Lance Henriksen, and like that movie was just like absurdly bad, and then it died, and then they're just like, well, fuck, everybody's going to space, let's try to put Pinhead in space, and then he was in the last 2 minutes and no one liked that, and they're like, fuck it.
Bloodlines is the best movie in the series.
How dare you? How dare you?
It's I guess.
Then they did like Baby Pinhead, which was real weird, and like that died. Then they did like weird fat Pinhead, which like didn't make no sense to nobody. And then they did like
we can
Judgment.
say this about all of them. Like if you tell me Halloween didn't fall, I mean, again, I don't like Halloween.
Once you get past Hellraiser 3, it is a descent straight down. Like there's no there's no ebb and flow. Like I would argue, there's no ebb and flow like there is with Friday or Nightmare on Elm Street and Halloween, whereas like Hellraiser kind of after. I mean, honestly, if you ask most people, it falls after 2.
Of course. But
I think the counterweight to that is that it is such a different universe than all those other, like Cenobites, the pleasures of hell, that whole concept, which Clive Barker, I mean, of all of those directors and filmmakers that I explained or that I mentioned a minute ago, Clive Barker is probably the only one who's an actual quote unquote believer. Like he went deep into demonology and sadomasochism. And
once again, I agree with you, but the problem is after you get past 3, the Cenobites become less and less involved in what those movies are about. Like
that's fine, but I still
take
wouldn't want
less
to lose the first 2.
They have less and less screen time. And then like, and you can tell that it gets to the points where like, and like they've admitted it, like you can watch this in documentaries where like it got to the point where like they couldn't figure out how to write decent scripts, and they were taking other horror movies scripts they had and just slapping on Cenobites and puzzle boxes. And so like, listen, I agree. I really like the first two Hellraisers a lot. Like I love Hellraiser. It's one of my favorite movies. But if we're comparing Titans and we're comparing universes, I think when you with in that logic, like their universe only like does not have the kind of staying power. So much so that they just tried rebooting again and it didn't go very well. And they canceled the sequel. So like,
so we know Carpenter's at the top of yours, then Eli. Who's
Carpenter is
yeah.
Craven.
Yeah.
I would say
Carpenter, Craven, and then Raimi. Is that how you?
Yeah, I'd probably say that. I'd say that'd be my.
What about you, John?
Oh, I don't think it's any contest. Carpenter for me. It's just more my style. I Clive Barker. I believe it or not, Eli are pretty much lock and step. I stopped watching Hellraiser after 2.
I like his books. Don't get me wrong. I like his books a lot, but
yeah,
I ain't got time for that.
Yeah, they're philosophical AF, but yeah,
no one's got time for that.
Has to be Carpenter. I mean, nobody else can make John Carpenter's vampires.
Nobody. Only John Carpenter can make that movie.
Now, I'll be honest with you. I don't
would make
like.
that.
I don't really have a strong opinion.
You don't have a dog in this fight. Yeah,
like all I know is John Carpenter made John Carpenter's vampires. So that's, you know what I mean? And
that's a unique beast.
That is the Ark of the Covenant of movies.
Jaime, what about you?
No, because honestly, it's like if you're saying as like a whole, but it's like some of them, like Hellraiser is one of my favorite horror movies, and then Scream is one of my hands down favorite horror movies, and then Evil Dead is like one of my favorite series. I will tell you, Carpenter has none of my favorite horror movies. He just doesn't for me. So
I can't even look you right now.
I know you can't. I know how most people feel about him.
And you're
okay Carpenter vampires,
but like I'm not like. It's just not, he's not, I could take him out as like a whole and not really be missing much. And like, so I don't know. It's a hard one. I'm like consistency. I mean, if we're saying only horror, let's take out other, like give me more, because now we're just doing this off the top of our head, but like it'd have to be either Craven or Raimi even, because consistency, I could say I love Evil Dead 1, 2, Army of Darkness. I like Drag Me to Hell. So if you give me another Raimi, more horror in there, like I like Raimi horror. He was
my third. He has a strong universe.
I know. I'm just saying he's up my alley. He's up my like alley of like. Yeah.
You're picking up what he's putting down.
Yeah. I don't know. As if we're only talking horror and we're saying as a whole, is he the most consistent for me? Probably maybe Craven. Like I like. Mm-hmm.
So would you put Barker above or below Raimi? Then?
So that's I guess below Raimi as like an overall, but like I really like what Clive Barker puts down to just for fucking weirdness. Like I just like, and visual. That's like the thing. It's hard to like as a very visual person. I like things that appeal to me on that level. It's why I like, and I know he's well respected. It's why I'm a big Del Toro fan, but it's not even necessarily always for storytelling. Yes. In a lot of situations it is, but it's also just because I could visually just sit there and watch a Del Toro movie and just be like enamored by what it looks like. And I feel like that's similar to Clive Barker. And again, early shit. I'm not saying, but like you put a Cenobite on the screen or his weird fucking world, you make Midnight Meat Train, which I fucking love. And I'm just like, I'm here for it. So it's like a weird.
Yeah. His is so violent and perverse.
That's the thing.
Which is fantastic.
That's the thing.
Yeah, it's a crazy mix, but it works for what he's doing, and he's very unapologetic. And he'll, unfortunately, if you watch him in interviews, he's very clear about, my movies are porn movies. They're just violent, sadistic porn movies, is what he's making. So he's got that going for him. So
as Jeff said, lady Cenobites.
Exactly. Yeah. So the last question I'll have, and then I'll hand off to whoever else might have anything else you wanted to discuss. But because this is something that I struggle with, and I get the fact that Raimi left Army of Darkness, then went on to he became a more commercially valuable director after Army of Darkness, when he proved that he could make a bigger style movie. But is Army of Darkness a proper conclusion to the universe of Evil Dead? Like I wish that had been picked up, like, and we talked about this in Tremors or Halloween, like we just referenced, like the Evil Dead universe as a franchise could have gone on, done some really fun things before we got to the TV series.
Oh, because I was about to say though, are you not counting that as because that continues? That's in the same.
But there's continues. Like a decade that happens between.
Oh, there is. But I guess so. You're saying Army of Darkness as a conclusion and not counting the TV series as a conclusion because it continues the story
as a movie, as a cinema set. We got those 3 movies from Raimi. And Raimi, I know he produced and he wrote for some of the TV series, but is that a proper trilogy? Is anybody else like me kind of not disappointed? I guess that's not the right word. Just kind of yearning for, I wish there was more to Raimi telling the story of Evil Dead or having more direct impact on the universe. Because obviously, to the point we made earlier, and I'm in the same boat with Jaime. I did see Evil Dead Rise, but Evil Dead, the Fede Alvarez movie, it was obvious that Fede loved what Raimi was doing. He understood what he was doing and he celebrated that. Evil Dead Rise, I didn't get that at all. Not personally, and that's just me as an audience member. I didn't get that experience from that. So I know that the franchise will continue, but I don't know that the franchise is going in a direction that's really exciting to Dave. And I'm just
I wish they stopped calling them Evil Dead. And even if you want to say 2013, fine. I think I still would have loved that movie. Well, as long as they acknowledged that it was giving homage to, you know what I'm trying to say. But I think I still would have loved
Necronomicon.
I think I still would have loved 2013 if they would have called Rise. Should not have even been an Evil Dead movie, and it should have just been some modern horror movie and
some haunted house movie. Yeah.
And then maybe I would have felt differently about it, but it's because it's in this universe and it doesn't compare. It doesn't deserve to be in this universe. The question about Army of Darkness being a good ending, though, or stopping point and not counting, I have a hard time because I count the TV show. I count that as a send off. And as I said earlier, I think that could still use a send off, one more piece. But I also fear what we would have gotten, like many other series, if this kept fucking going. Like the shtick is great. Can it get old? I don't know. I love the TV show. It's a very hard, it's like a fine line of
I feel like a universe that somebody other than Raimi could.
Where do you go after time traveling chainsaw hand shotgun?
Know what I mean? Like the series shows you it.
Right. But
it took time. There's a time.
Yeah, there's a big time.
That's the thing. The series, I think the series works well because he's older now and it's like everybody.
No, you're right.
They're like, oh, we forgot about these demons, and by the way, they're, you know what I mean? I don't know. I think the Army of Darkness was an apt ending to that story, like that particular storyline, because it's like, it's like anything else. Like once again, the series is like, okay, well, I forgot all that stuff. I'm old now, like whatever, you know what I mean? I'm living a normal life
through,
right? And then they come back all of a sudden, so you get more of you get a different dynamic than if you would have had another Army of Darkness or whatever you want to call it movie. I mean, you would have just had Chainsaw Quantum Leap at that point.
Oh my god! Are we writing that movie?
I think we should write it.
Now, I'll be honest. I wouldn't be surprised. Now, I would hate, but I wouldn't be surprised if we didn't see Ash one more time because there's kind of like this weird resurgence. I don't know if anybody saw Never Hike Alone, where these people this guy who was trying to get involved in making the next Friday movie, and then it went in that legal battle, so he made that independent Never Hike Alone.
Oh yeah, I meant to watch it, but I did not.
They are honestly, I like them more than most Friday movies, and so now because he finished the
are you talking about Friday the 13th or Friday
the 13th?
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not talking about regular Friday 13th, but
okay.
He it's really good. And then now they're talking about as they do because they finally got done with the legal battle, bringing them in to help with the film. And so now because of that, they're trying to take Michael back old school because people didn't really like, which I get, but whatever, people didn't like that. Now all of a sudden Jason, there's now talk of Freddy, it seems like these, which once again, you could argue well, let's do something different, but it seems like they kind of realize people kind of like some of the old stuff and they're trying to do a kickback. So maybe we might see him again. I think if the story makes sense, and probably if Raymond's involved, I bet you Bruce would be talking to donning the brown pants one more time.
Oh yeah, it's only Sam Raimi who's going to come to Bruce Campbell and say, "Let's do this."
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, does it need to make sense? Did the Evil Dead story make sense? Like,
no, nothing.
You know what I'm saying?
No.
Well, I mean, it makes sense for them to do. Like, not just.
I feel like that is a hallmark of a lot of films that people cherish. Right? It has a minimum story that kind of makes sense, but you use, but like look at movies like modern movies. Let's say John Wick, right? That guy kills 100,000 people, and everybody's like, "This is awesome!" Like no, you know what I mean? It doesn't make any sense, but they made 4 movies out of it, and like I feel that there's a lot of movies that like think about the movies that you hold up on pinnacles of the best movies you've seen. Most of them don't make any sense. You know what I mean? And I don't know what the magic is to that. I can't get the correlation. You know what I mean? Because there are some movies that are like, oh wow, this story's very deep and yada yada yada, and it's an excellent story. But then a lot of them, it's just like, well, a bunch of cool shit happens and then the movie's over, and you're like, all right, well, and it's not just like a person, like they're like universally loved popular movies. You know what I mean? I don't know I don't know what you do or where that magic comes from. You know what I'm saying? I just don't, I don't understand it. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess maybe when I said story, I don't mean like an Oscar. I meant more just like if it made sense, like because he's like he didn't want to be. They wanted him to be Ash in this. Like I have a thing at the end. He's like, nah, it doesn't make sense for me to be in this Evil Dead Rise or whatever the fuck it was called.
Yeah, because they probably saw it and said, "This is fucking terrible. I don't even want my
he's
face
like,
at the end of it."
Yeah, he's like, I'll do the voice of the priest, and I'm gonna do it in a weird way so no one knows it's me.
Well, to the point we made earlier, it's interesting how we all see Bruce do the slapstick stuff, and he's totally okay with being goofy. And Evil Dead 2 is like a perfect example of he'll play to the camera and he'll be a goofball, but at the end of the day, he seems to be really smart in what he'll back and what he won't. Like he seems to be able to see through the fluff. And I guess that's part of, like I said earlier, his lens on Hollywood as a whole. Like he can see the BS a mile away, and he seems to be able to play around it pretty safely. I mean, he's never going to be a Keanu Reeves or a Brad Pitt, and he recognizes that. But what he does do is he seems to be able to protect his own property, like his own intellectual property, in a way that he won't back a movie just because it's an Evil Dead if it doesn't kind of celebrate the things that he experiences or what he believes Evil Dead is.
Wasn't he a producer on Evil Dead Rise?
I think it's all of that. I think he's a producer on all of that.
Yeah,
2013 also, but like who cares? That just means like I gave you some money or whatever. Or like it's like
we've probably like I wish I got that money back. Because Jeff and I saw that and Cocaine Bear both in theaters, and I don't know which one I hated more.
Please, Evil Dead Rise, come on. Come on, Eli, just say it.
Yeah, you're just being abusive at this point.
I would have loved to see a cross universe where both those movies killed each other. That's what I would like to see.
I know who would win.
Yeah, Cocaine Bear would win on that one.
Oh my God. What if I gave the Deadites cocaine?
Oh, yeah. And that's the thing, and we kind of talked about it earlier, but I do love that the Deadites are such a unique creature within horror. Like they're not yes, they're demons, yes, they're zombies, but at the end of the day, what a Deadite is it's a freaking asshole. Like, that's what a Deadite is. It's just there to F with you. And I love that. It's just the most mean-spirited, violent, hateful creature that you could possibly design. And I love that Sam's brother Ted plays this old lady in this movie as a Deadite, and
does in the show also. Same one.
Just there to mess with you. And I guess that's why, at least for me, and I think a lot of the horror community, why they back Deadites is because they're just the asshole of horror.
They're just dicks. They're just straight up dicks. That's what they're there for. And like can kill you, but you know what I mean? Like they're just before they do, they're dicks.
They're just there to screw with you. So we're coming up on 2 hours. Is there anything, Jaime, that you want to finalize or anything else that we haven't?
No, I'm glad we all got to do this movie though. I know it's beloved and like, you know, it's been on our list of like and just for people who are still listening, and as far as the picks and stuff, we have an ongoing list of movies that we think fit into our coverage, and when we get to them, we'll get to them. But it's like that. This one has been sitting there, and it's like, if I had the first chance to pick, I think I went for it right away. Like I was just like, these are my picks, and I like.
This was Jamie's rescue dog. She saw it on the street and said, "You're coming home with me right now."
It's like, it's time to do that. It's time to do that. And again, we did my favorite. We did 2013, but I was like, it's time to go to the classic. And I picked 2 because 2 is like, that's where to me, that's one of the pinnacle. I do love the show maybe more, but 2 is
so good.
Yeah,
the show is, and I want to say
the entry point is 2.
It's 2, exactly. Like that's where and like, I know we've talked about it a lot, and I don't mean to do that, but if anybody was hesitant, like I was when the show first started, because you get like that, you're like, well, it's been so many years and it's Bruce Campbell, but like, where is this going to go? Is it going to be the same? I promise you, it feels the same. It's like you never left him. Like it's so much fun, and it's fucking funny, and it's gory. Like it fits everything on my list too. Like the first season, the special effects, like when I rewatched it again, I was like, shit, I don't remember them being, but it's just the first season, because then they gave him money and they're like, oh shit, this is actually semi-successful. So,
when Xena the Warrior Princess shows up.
Oh God, she's great. Oh God, the secondary there's almost nothing better than, what's their faces? The two sidekicks, which are off my, like Pablo and
Pablo is my
Kelly.
favorite.
I fucking love Kelly. Might be one of the best female characters I've ever seen in a television show. I fucking love her. But anyway, that's it. I'm ranting about a show we're not even covering. I picked this obviously because Evil Dead 2 is fucking fantastic. That's it.
Yeah. No apologies necessary.
Full stop, period.
I literally, and I texted Jamie and John when we were watching this. I'm like, I literally thanked Jamie for putting this on the list. Like, it's a movie, and I think somebody had referenced it earlier. It's a movie that I love, that I don't watch on a regular basis. It doesn't get a lot of TV play. It doesn't get put on TV a lot. And literally when this movie came out, it was unrated, which was unheard of in 87. Like they tried to take stuff out of it to get the R rating, but there were some things that Sam was not willing to give up, like the buckets of blood and all of the gory and stuff. So it ended up with an unrated kind of listing, which was kind of a death wish for a movie.
Yeah. And I don't think it's streaming right now either. I have the DVD, so I don't know how many of you, like I just put in the DVD because I still have it. I was going
to ask y'all about that, because I think Amanda have had the same experience we had earlier, to where I think this may be on Shudder without being on Shudder.
Oh, is it? I didn't even look because I knew it was in my collection, so I just pulled it out old school.
Up as being part of the AMC Plus subscription.
Oh, then usually it is. Usually it's on Shudder. Then if that's the case.
Then I searched it on Shudder and it doesn't show up. But then I go to Apple TV and search it and it says, "Hey, do you want to watch this on Shudder?" I'm like, yes, please. So I think it's on Shudder without being on Shudder.
It's that weird way they do things. So like you have to search it, and then I don't know. Like I didn't even try. I didn't even try because I just, like I said, I knew it was in my case, and I was just like, okay, we'll do this.
Where did you find it at, Eli?
Well, I did not find it on Shudder.
Yeah, because you didn't watch the right one.
So I rented it, and I rented the wrong one. But like I said, you know what? If I'm being honest, I'm not mad about it. Like I said, that first one, I just like that first one a lot.
Yeah, it's all a good time.
Yeah.
Sounds like you don't have any regrets.
I know. I have no regrets. I like all of them, but like that first one, like there's just that unpolishedness of it. Just, yeah.
John, do you own it or did you share?
Oh, of course I own it.
Okay.
On DVD, Blu-ray. I'd never get the 4K yet, but
I thought I owned it, but I didn't look it up because literally when I searched Apple TV, it told me I could watch it. So I didn't go into my cases. So.
Ironically, I have the Blu-ray, but I don't have a Blu-ray player. So
that's
cool.
What? I mean, I do everything digital, so I don't, you know what I mean? Like, I haven't had a Blu-ray player for 5 or 6 years now.
Why do you have the Blu-ray then?
Because I bought it when I had a Blu-ray player.
Yeah. Like I had a PlayStation Xbox or exactly.
I had a PlayStation 4 and it had a Blu-ray player.
Yeah.
But like,
I've never had a Bluray player. Honestly, I've only ever had video game systems that play Blu-rays. So like,
that's I watch everything on PS5.
Yeah. Wait, John, did you have, because I didn't, but like my friend did, like, did you have the edition that was in the squishy Necronomicon?
No, I didn't get that one.
Yeah, there's one that comes in the book and it's like all squishy and cute. Mm-hmm. And I didn't either but yeah.
But you got the puppet.
I do have this puppet and I don't even know if he's easy to find anymore, to be honest. I bought him in Forbidden Planet, I think, which I've taken both of you to.
Cool
they just had them. They had like they literally only had a couple, and it was him and the evil one. And like I said, my sister and I asked her which one she wanted. That's how I normally do it. I buy them both, and I'm like, well, which one do you want? And then I took regular Ashy Slashy.
That's pretty fantastic.
He's so fucking cute.
So if you haven't been watching us on the YouTube, if you've just been listening to the podcast, you should go to YouTube just to see all of Jamie's interactions this whole time has been through the puppet Ashy Slashy.
He has been on my hand this whole.
How sweaty is your hand? Are you going to have to like set that hole on a fan to air out so don't get moldy in there? Because I feel like
I took my hand out for a breather before, like twice, and it's
how gross was it put it back in there? Oh, it's super moist in there.
Oh, it's moist. Yeah. This is.
So there is no Dave's Critter Corner this week because obviously there weren't any movies in the movie other than the white-tailed deer, which we covered in completion in our Slither coverage. So if you want to learn more about the white-tailed deer, go to our Slither.
There's a mouse in there.
Is there?
There is a rat. Yeah. There's a rat.
When his hand goes in the rat hole.
Yeah. And in the basement when he falls down, when he's sitting by the stairs that's behind him, because I went, oh, look how cute.
Well, I didn't do any research on the rat. I'll do that next time. Sorry, I missed that. I tried to think if there was an animal, and obviously being another movie that he barely got financed, thanks to Stephen King, which we covered on our Maximum Overdrive. The only reason this movie exists is because of Stephen King in a cocaine fit, demanding that it be financed while he was making Maximum Overdrive. So thanks, King. But anyway, I couldn't think of another animal other than the deer that was wacky on the wall. So I'm going to hand off. Eli, what is this campfire tale that's going to follow up the beauty that is Evil Dead 2?
You know what's crazy? 3 years ago, on our second campfire tale, we cover the Necronomicon. So we're gonna do Necronomicon Part 2,
Volume 2.
Because there's a lot we didn't get to. So
there's a movie I watched that I think there are 3 of them, aren't there? Aren't there 3?
No, I don't recognize that trash.
That's not canon.
Not canon. That's trash. What that is.
So we're going back to the OG.
We're going back to the OG first edition Necronomicon, and I think before we talked about the book as whole. This time, I think we're going to talk about some of the. Now, there's not Deadites in the real Necronomicon. I think we're going to talk about some of the forgotten ones. The peeps. The book actually talks about.
Sweet. So are the peeps? Are they demons or victims of the book, or both?
In the OG Necronomicon, it is the old ones in the various horrors like that you may find that you don't want to find.
It's all bad news
because you'll have a bad day. Like I don't think a single one of them that even just reading their name doesn't cause some form of insanity. I don't think there's a single one of them at all.
Fair enough.
They're all bad.
And so, Jamie, what is our next curated movie?
Oh God, you're all going to be so mad at me for the next one.
No,
I already am.
I want to say this out loud because I just had these ideas and didn't do them. So I had a few ideas of how I was going to use my curated movies, and so one was going to be after you hear my second one. One was going to be all sequels, and then I was like, I don't like enough sequels. And one was also going to be, and here's where the second one comes in. All the fucking Hatchet movies because there's 4 of them. And the 4th one is abysmal, but I was still going to fucking do it. So you guys are lucky. You're not getting Terrifier and you're not getting 4 Hatchet movies, but you are getting Hatchet 2 because much like Evil Dead 2, the second one, because where Danielle Harris comes in is one of my favorite ones.
Yeah.
So,
why are you punishing me?
Because
what did I do to you?
This is my fucking pick. And you know what? I had sat through, The Witch
Midsommar.
and Blair Witch and Midsommar. And you guys are going to sit through Hatchet 2. And you're all going to hate it. And I'm going to be a defender. And I don't give a fuck. Because guess what? It's my fucking pick.
No, so Eli, that's Hatchet, not Machete.
Hatchet 2, Eli, not 1, 3, or 4.
If you were going to tell me Hatchet 1, I was just going to be sick that day.
Yeah, I love that one too, but 2 is better. I hate it.
But I know 2's got Danielle Harris and her like
her eyebrow.
Weird, yes, and like that weird like
I love it.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre vibe she's got walking down the road.
Yeah, and the great part of 2 is like it continues directly the next day from 1, but they changed the actress and now it's Danielle Harris. So they fake it. Like it's the same thing it's literally the same thing as Friday 13th 2, where you see the end of like 1 and then it goes into 2. So like, you're not missing much. Well, they'll give you a recap at the beginning, I think.
And you'll regret that you saw it.
You will not. It's also Kane Hodder. Come on, guys.
It's a good time. Yeah.
It is a fucking good time. And it's, again, we're talking about directors who make movies with their friends and just have fucking fun. And if there's anything that Adam Green is, it's like a horror fan and just likes to have fucking fun.
Yeah.
So.
Fair enough. Shit. So we'll close out the month of March with that one. And then Jaime will lead us in, and no spoilers. We'll head into April for her last 2 more movie reviews. If you love the show, if you enjoyed what we've done so far tonight, if you would give us a subscribe, rate the show, give us a comment. Jaime always asks me if we've gotten any new comments. We haven't in a long time. So if you've got some comments about what we're doing here, we'd love to hear those. Try and keep it positive, because obviously the world is dark enough. Let's try and keep it positive. If you want to learn more about my hosts or the other things that we've got going on, like movie reviews, book reviews, other things like that, you can go to our website, thewickedwild.com. If you want to follow us on social media, you can do that at X, which is at Wicked Wild We Are, Slasher, which is the horror only community, also at Wicked Wild We Are. And then if you want to follow us on Instagram, it's at Wicked Wild Pod. And then if you want to see the videos and see all of our smiling faces and Ashy Slashy this evening, you can go to YouTube and just search the Wicked Wild Podcast.
# moist hands.
Ew, that's what she said.
Oh. If you have any questions or thoughts or any feedback that you want to give directly to me about the podcast, or any ideas you want to share with us, or what you think of the podcast, you can always send me an email at podcast, podcast at thewickedwild.com. Any other questions or any other thoughts?
Yeah, just real quick. Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Moist.
Boom, roasted. So thank you for listening. We hope you had a good night. And as we always say on the podcast, we hope that you get out there and get yourself lost, because it may be the only place you can find yourself. Have a good night.